Bianca and John, good afternoon to you. Perhaps you can hear behind me the humming of a nearby construction vehicle, which has got a tube that's going into a hole in the White House driveway that's very deep. They've been working on this for several days, so we apologize for the noise. President Biden ran a fever of 99.4 last night. His personal physician said in a statement released by the White House press office this morning. But the chief executive responded well to acetaminophen, the core ingredient of Tylenol, of course, and his temperature has remained normal since then, the statement said. It added certain other medications for more chronic conditions are being withheld, such as Crestor. The White House suggested aspirin is being administered as a blood thinner. The president's physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, an osteopath, flight surgeon, decorated combat medic, and retired Army colonel, has been Mr. Biden's physician since 2009. Today's statement from Dr. O'Connor, the second in what will be a daily release, said the president still presents a runny nose, fatigue, and a persistent cough, now described as loose instead of dry, as in yesterday's releases. It was not Dr. O'Connor, however, but Dr. Ashish Jha, the White House COVID coordinator, who briefed the press after yesterday's bombshell news. Dr. Jha, an internist and former dean of Brown Medical School, said President Biden's test results had been sent out for sequencing to determine whether he contracted the BA.5 variant of the virus.
But you can't just tell from a regular test what kind of variant. So the sequencing results will be back at some point less than a week from now.
The president had traveled on Wednesday to Massachusetts for a climate speech and stood only a few inches away the day before on the South Lawn from the face of the Ukrainian First Lady, Olena Zelensky. But Biden aides late yesterday could provide no details on their ongoing efforts to determine how and when the president contracted the virus and whether he might have given it to anyone else.
We are doing our process for our close contact components.
How many people have
All right, I'm not sure if we saw the full exchange there between Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, and Peter Alexander of NBC News at yesterday's briefing, but it was unproductive in the sense that Jean-Pierre just continued to say that the White House is starting that process of contact tracing. Dr. O'Connor summed up his statement today by saying nothing he has seen over the course of the president's illness to date would cause him to revise his initial projection that the president will respond favorably to the treatment he is being given, most notably the Pfizer antiviral Paxlovid. John and Bianca.
All right, James, we have some more questions. I just wanted to kind of tap into your knowledge base. Obviously, you're a veteran reporter. You've been covering the White House a long time. And I wanted to get your response to the way this was handled. A very simple question yesterday in that exchange with Dr. Jha and Karine Jean-Pierre. How do we know if Joe Biden has transmitted this disease from anybody else? Where did he get it from? And there was also a question, James, about what should happen if Joe Biden's condition gets worse. And there was kind of a brush off, a kiss off answer from Karine Jean-Pierre as well. Were you struck by that?
Well, to the question of what happens if X or Y should occur, I'm not surprised the White House briefer would blow that off, because typically briefers responding to questions do not like to entertain hypotheticals along the lines of what if. And moreover, all indications at that time, and apparently right now, are that the president's going to respond favorably to the treatment and recover within a normal period of time. So I'm not surprised they would entertain darker scenarios, that they would refuse to entertain darker scenarios than that. One question that was raised at yesterday's briefing that was notable came from one of the most senior White House correspondents in all of Washington, universally respected reporter George Condon of the National Journal, who also serves as the historian of the Gridiron, which is an elite grouping of journalists here in Washington, of which this reporter is also a member. So everyone in town knows who George Condon is and respects him. And he said at yesterday's briefing, he cited the unavailability of Dr. Kevin O'Connor, the president's attending physician, for press questioning, by way of suggesting that this was, as Condon put it, the least transparent treatment by any White House of any presidential illness in the last 50 years. And that drew a sharp response from Karine Jean-Pierre, but it was notable coming from the source, a universally respected Beltway reporter in George Condon.
Well, obviously, we're glad the president's doing better, and we're waiting for that briefing. James Rosen, live at the White House. We will continue to watch things. We know you'll bring us the newest developments as they come in. Thanks, James.